here today with my good friend Makis, and we're here in his rent house. We're going to talk a little bit about his experience as a landlord. Let's get to it. So today we are with another landlord in the Houston area who is sharing about his experience as a landlord in between tenants currently. One tenant has recently vacated. He has now rehabbed the property and is in the process of having his next new tenant come in. I spent some time and we chat about what life has been like landlording in the Houston area over the past few months. In this rental market, what would you say is your biggest challenge?
There are a couple of things that I think of. One is, rents the last few years keep going up. Mm-hmm. And the problem with that is wages for regular people do not increase as much. And it's a challenge for us landlords.
Recent reporting confirms these facts all across the state, all across the nation. In the aftermath of the global pandemic, we've seen that with the rise in costs for real property, tax rates have gone up, as well as insurance costs, so that landlords in every part of the state and throughout the country have experienced these increased costs, which unfortunately have also led to increased rents, while wages have gone up. Like Makis has mentioned, they just haven't gone up at the same rate that insurance and taxes have.
The other one is when you, what time frame do you rent your home? This market is a little bit slower than usual, but you still find good tenants. But it's not at the school time where they're coming more often. You have many more applications when it comes to that.
So when you're saying, are you talking about the time of year?
The time of the year, correct.
Okay. For you, particularly in this area, what would you say is the key 1 month, 2 months that are the absolute best to find tenants?
I believe from my past experience is between May to August.
Okay. So right now it's September and you've got an empty unit. How many hits have you had? How many interested people have reached out to you?
I have several, and the key is to find one that is qualifies based on the criteria.
What do you do to find tenants? Do you have a social media presence? Do you have a realtor who helps you? Do you just stick a sign out in your front yard and wait to see who sees it?
Before I used to use apartments.com or rentals.com and there are other like Zillow, but then I became an agent. I'm a realtor as well. So now I use hard.com and put it on the market.
So you yourself list your own as part of your work as a realtor?
Correct.
And do you find that if you were not a realtor, it would be a good use of your money to hire a realtor to list your product?
For a rental unit, if it was easy to rent, probably not. In the past, I had another house that I had over 100 applications or interested. I had to solve them over 100 times. And I realized it wasn't worth it in that particular area.
So you're saying when there's a huge demand for the rental, it's not worth it to have a realtor?
That's a hard thing to say because the different value for me that I'm a realtor and I'm also a landlord. Someone else is their time. So how much time are you willing to give to rent your unit?
And so because you have certain knowledge and experience and expertise, it's easier for you to list this on your own as a realtor and find your own tenants. What sources or resources do you have to learn about the practice of being a landlord?
I would say you are part of it. Actually, I'm in a group of like-minded individuals that we all share common knowledge, and it's not a free group. You have it as a member. But in that group, I learned about you through other like-minded individuals.
Do you have any books or podcasts you listen to? Do you have a mentor?
I have a mentor, which actually she also talks to you, and through her experience and other mentors, this is not the only one, I deal with my different scenarios every time. I have a application that requires certain criteria that I don't understand it particularly because it's not part of my, I've never dealt with it. Mm-hmm. So I always expand my knowledge that way. Or I read some books sometimes, just to understand what is happening. Because everything changes, you cannot go back how things were 10 years ago.
So now we're upstairs in the unit. I see you have a two-story home. Tell me a little bit about the layout.
So this home is a 3-bedroom, 2.5 baths. All bedrooms are upstairs. A utility room upstairs. Half bath downstairs.
Is that the way you bought it? Did you have to do any rehab to it? Did you have to install anything?
No major stuff like construction. It's typical flooring, walls, counters.
But you didn't have to build another room, say, to make it more marketable, or install another bathroom, for example?
No, that's how it was.
It was already set up. Great. Let's talk about your challenges. In the past, or maybe even from the tenant who just left, what has been your most significant tenant challenge that you've had?
Well, I can tell you the first one I had, it was very challenging. And that had to do with, I can tell you at the end, I had to evict them because they were late. They were always asking for stuff and I was always taking care of things. But the last 3 months were kind of late. So I gave them a notice that they were late, they didn't pay. They paid late again, and so I decided to send an eviction letter, and at that point I stopped listening to them and I went to court.
Would you say that the complications that you've experienced most often with tenants have to do with non-payment of rent?
There were a couple of other things as well. And the same tenants, the month before they got evicted, they wanted to have a party. And the problem with that, the dishwasher didn't work. So they called me Friday night, they demanded to have someone. I said, listen, it's Friday night. I cannot do much, but I will do my best. So I found someone on Saturday. And at that point, they called me back, they said, don't worry, it works. I said, listen, you asked me, let's go check it out. No, everything works. As a result, Sunday morning, 5 a.m., Monday morning, 5 a.m., I got a call, the house was flooded downstairs.
From the dishwasher?
From the dishwasher. And what we found out later on, it was mice. Mice ate the water line in the back, and that's what caused the problem.
Oh, wow.
So,
but you didn't find that out until after they were evicted?
I found out just about, it was that time.
How long have you been a landlord?
Roughly 15 years.
15 years. So if you go back 15 years ago from when you first started, what would you say is the biggest, most important lesson you learned as a landlord over that 15 years?
You have to have a good lease, you have to have home rules, and you have to follow it.
Yeah.
What you say, it has to be that and only that. And if there is a way you can give them one break, make sure by letter, email that that's only one time. You have to follow your rules. And if they don't listen, and you have to follow the rules.
Yeah. Let's say you went back in time to the version of you that was just starting out. What, aside from what you just said, and I know that's great advice, and it's a good lesson. Unfortunately, sometimes it's a lesson we learn very, very much the hard way, but it's a great lesson, and I'm glad you shared that. But if you went back in time and you saw your brand new landlord self, what advice would you give that guy who's just starting out?
Probably those tenants wouldn't stay that long because there were some rules broken and I didn't send them notice as I should have. And I mean, they were paying the rent, but there were things I had to be taken care of.
So you would tell your old self, get on them faster, get them out quicker?
Make sure you follow the rules. And
Yeah.
don't relax and just get paid and go check the house. That's a thing. Sometimes tenants, they try to avoid you in some ways. You have to reinforce your lease.
Absolutely. All right, so we've looked over the upstairs and we've looked over the downstairs. I wondered if you have any questions for me that you'd like for me to answer for you.
How can we protect the landlord, myself, from tenant injuries in case of liability? issues?
Well, one good way for a landlord to protect themselves from cases of liability is to have a very clear set of what are called indemnification provisions in their lease. In the lease, there should be a waiver of warranties. There should be sections that say, look, I'm not responsible for what happens on the property while I'm not there. So you, tenant, have to be careful to make sure that everything is carried out well. And so those provisions in there that say, I'm not responsible both for injuries to people as well as injuries to your stuff, your private property, help to alleviate some liability from the landlord. But ultimately, sometimes things are going to go so bad, they're going to say, I don't care what the lease says, I'm going to sue you anyway. And there may be something that you, the landlord, do have some cause for liability due to negligence, maybe something that you failed to do or something you did that you shouldn't have done. In those instances, it's always great to have the right insurance. And so you want to make sure that you are properly insured, that you have the kind of policy that is set up to protect a landlord who is leasing to residential tenants. Finally, you want to make sure that the tenant has insurance in case they do something that harms some other party. And if the tenant is insured properly, even if someone else gets hurt on your property and they come after you, you've got a policy in place that's paid for by the tenant that will cover that claim. Now, to make sure that that policy stays in place, you want to make sure that you're listed as an interested party or an additional insured. So, Makis, I want to thank you very much for letting me come into your home. I appreciate this first-hand look at what real rental property looks like in the Houston area. For those of you who are interested in seeing more of this content, of course, watch any of the videos that you find on my channel. If you also are interested in having your home reviewed by me, I'd love to come check out your place. You can send me an email at info@attorneyeg.com. But until next time, landlords, happy leasing. Your lease is the most important document you have as a landlord. You want to make sure that you have a rock solid lease. If you're not sure, maybe your lease is way too short, or maybe it's older than dirt, or maybe it's something that you have no confidence in, that you simply downloaded from some website online. That's not the way to run a successful landlording business. If you are a Texas landlord and you are looking for a Texas-specific lease, I've got a great offer for you. My office has drafted a residential lease for property, specifically for property in the Texas area. If you have rental property and are interested in upgrading your lease and making sure that you've got a rock solid lease, you'll want to take advantage of this month's offer. During the month of September, we are offering our lease at a discounted price, $100 off. Check in the description for the link below so that you can take advantage of this month's offer. That $100 offer ends at the end of September. What's included? You're going to get a lease drafted by a licensed state attorney with over 14 years of experience in landlord-tenant law throughout the state of Texas. You're going to get a customizable document that we will customize for you during a 30-minute consultation that you'll have with a licensed Texas attorney. This way, you can utilize this lease over and over and over again and modify it to suit the needs of your property. Along with these, you'll also get various supporting documents, addenda, a rent ledger, application documents that you can use to better position yourself for maximum profit in your landlording business. If you have questions, send me an email at info@attorneyeg.com. That's info@attorneyeg.com. And if you're ready to check out this product, take a look in the description below for a link so that you can get your own Texas lease. Again, tailored to you, consulted with by a Texas attorney with years of experience in landlord-tenant law, and a product that you can be confident will get the job done for your landlording business.